Freddie Jones, thanks so much for taking the time to do an interview here. I really wanted you to be able to join us on Monday, but you got an important training for your work, and that's a lot more important than zooming in the middle of a day on Monday. But thanks for taking the time. So we'll just sort of go back a little bit, walk through. You joined CRED about not quite 2 years ago in the spring of 2019. Who sort of talked to you about what we were doing, and what made you decide to come into the program?
Well, my uncle Velson, he was a life coach, or I think it was outreach, one or the other, and he was telling me and my guys about it. So I was curious, but I already had some other things going on. So I decided to tell my friends and them to go. Like, y'all go and see what that's about, see what's to it. And when I saw that they was not only changing their life, they was actually getting diplomas and getting trades. I'm like, oh, hold on, wait a minute. Maybe I'm missing something. So that's when I decided to try to join in on a.
So you sent your guys as a test dummies, not to see if it was real or not?
Yeah, kind of, sort of, yeah.
And what was the feedback when you said you saw them changing? What were you seeing?
It's like they wasn't on the block no more. It's like, because we was like always the type of people that was on the block every day. Like, we always had something to do, and whatever we did was on the block. But they started to fade. It was like, nah, I'm gonna go in the house. I gotta go to work tomorrow. Like, you gotta go to work tomorrow. They got you a job? What
the? Yeah. Going back, when you've been shot twice. Once when you were pretty young. Talk about what that's like to go through those kinds of experiences.
I mean, it was traumatizing, because, like I told you before, even though that was so long ago, certain things happen and bring it right back. It'd be like, oh, it's a flashback from what happened. And I probably get scared, or it's probably a pain in my leg or something. It's something like that. So it's kind of traumatizing still, even though it was so long ago.
And talk about what you still feel physically because of those wounds.
Yeah, I like right now it's snowing. Like, I can't really walk. I can't really walk. It hurts. It hurts to walk.
Yeah. It's the stuff that doesn't just go away the next day. Yeah. So you started that spring of 2019. You've talked about a couple different things. You've talked about both how you first you sent guys, make sure see if it was real, but you also recruited people into the program after you came in. But you've also talked about how you had to like disassociate yourself from some folks who weren't doing things in a positive way. Talk about both you recruiting folks in, but also you starting to figure out who you should be around and who you should not be around based upon where you were trying to go.
Well, Craig, a lot of people don't know, but it's very life-changing. The things that Craig is about will make you want to change. So that means, like, if I'm gonna change and I'm performing this change and the people that's around me is not putting forth the effort to change, then yeah, I got to remove myself from you, because I might fall back into the same old habits or the same old ways, and I don't want that. And so I seen other guys that was with me that I didn't bring in, and I'm like, man, you want to change? You ready? So you ready, huh? Go ahead. This is Craig. This is what they do, huh? Here go a life coach. I introduced him to probably Hicks or probably Lightfoot, and we go from there.
And as you started to pull back from certain people, did your street credibility, did they ever challenge you? You're lame now. You're soft. You're a sellout. Did you ever feel that pressure?
Of course. When it's all like when you always making a change and people don't understand the change you making, that's when things get misconstrued and they were like, oh, you lame, you ain't know nothing. But hey, sometimes even though it's wrong, like, you can get put back into the mold, that same old mold. But with all this practice that we've been doing with the anger management, it's kind of hard to fall back.
Right. So that was my next question. So how did you handle when you had that pressure, when your manhood's being challenged? What do you stand for? Who are you? How do you handle that pressure and not fall back?
I kind of try to talk to him about it. Talk to him about the change, like what really made me change and what the change is doing for me.
Yeah. And you've talked a lot to me about how important some of the life coaches were, Hicks and Lightfoot and others. Talk about what you learned from them. Talk about their impact. What role did they play in your change?
Was they came from the streets too, so from that part I related right away. And like I tell a lot of people, you have to do your homework on certain people. You can't come at certain situations like you know it all when you really don't know nothing, or you dumb to the fact. So once I done my homework on the guys or whatever, it was easier to talk to them and to confide into them and help them help me basically.
And what kinds of things would you ask them about, or what kinds of things would they challenge you on?
They'll challenge me on like like you say, I'm a rapper or whatever, and Hicks, he do his little thing on the rapping, so he be challenging me with the rapping. And Lightfoot, he more of a music type of guy too, so he be challenging me with the music too.
You sort of talked about, as you've disassociated yourself from some folks, you've actually done more on the rapping side. Like, you've become more creative, more productive. You got some stuff out now. Explain what that process, what that was like, making that shift.
I mean, to me, I felt like I was being held back with the certain people that was around me, because it's like we all come from the same era or the same neighborhood, so we do or have done a lot of the same things. But once it came down to like the pressure, and it's like, it's me, it's all I got, ain't nobody else is behind me but me. So hey, I had to push forward. Like, everybody ain't gonna make it to the top. You have to lead some people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You came to us, about March, April, whatever, 2019, and then that fall, I think it may have been October, we sent a bunch of guys to DC, and
Yeah, that was fun.
helps to organize the trips. And just for a lot of people, it's the first time out of Chicago, just a chance to breathe, to feel something different, to see the big world out there. And because of the way violence works here in Chicago, that's so hyper localized, we often have guys that were what we call ops, were opposition in the past. We have guys who have shot at each other, and it's not uncommon at all. And we actually had a situation there where we had two guys, not just who had shot at each other, but one had wounded the other. Mm-hmm. And without staff, without life coaches, we all heard about this after the fact. And you can use names and not use names, it doesn't matter. But you did something pretty extraordinary in that trip, is you got two guys who were literally trying to take each other's lives not too long before that. You brought them together. Walk through how that happened and what that felt like to do.
I mean, the feeling of that was great. Like, I even cried to my homie that I had that situation with. I mean, because that was a big moment for not just me, for him to actually realize that he grown and we older now. Whatever happened back then happened. We both in this program looking for change. So, and with that being said, I guess he felt what I was saying, and he decided to talk to him, because they could have kept going how they was throughout the whole entire trip, because they wanted, like, I had to go hang with one and then go hang with the other. And I'm like, oh man, I can't. That's kind of frustrating. It's like, that's like having two women. Like, how you can't juggle that. How you gonna juggle that? You can't juggle it. So I was like, I guess I was sitting there, and I actually made one of them stop in the midst of him walking past us. I made him stop, and I was asking him some questions. In the midst of me asking him what I was asking him, my homie was like, you know what? Hey, bro, whatever we got or whatever we had going on, let's squash it. Let's see if we could come to a agreement right now, right here. And that's how that happened.
How did that feel?
Oh, that was amazing. Yeah. That was amazing.
Yeah. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding was the guy you were with who sort of spoke up, he was actually the victim. He was the one who had been shot. Is that correct?
No, he was the one that had inflicted the wound.
He was the shooter. Got it. And he said let's squash it.
And then the other one, so surprisingly, the one that was wounded was like, you know what, you're right. Let's see if we can come to some type of agreement. Yeah.
And again, so much of what we try and do is stop retaliation. And so much of the violence here in Chicago is driven because there isn't justice in the criminal justice system. Things don't get solved. And so then you have street justice. And so trying to stop that cycle of retaliation, stop that cycle of violence. is so hugely important. So that was a huge moment for you guys. That was a huge moment for the program. And both those guys are guys with a lot of, as you know, like you, a lot of credibility on the streets, and to have them able to find that kind of reconciliation, that sent a signal to a lot of other folks that, man, stuff that, you know, historically would end up in a really, really bad place, you know, could be stopped, could be squashed. And then I just want to fast forward, you know, unfortunately, tragically, that, you know, you're working so hard, you're getting job training, you're in a great spot, you're doing your thing, you're helping us. And then less than 2 weeks ago, your own daughter was shot. And talk about what happened there.
I mean, I was like scared out of my mind because like this is Chicago we talking about. No, people get shot, we normally think of fatalities, like death, like dang. So I was like, I'm so thankful to God that she was only grazed, but at the same time, like at that time, like all the good, all the extra that I've been doing, all that got threw out the window. Like this is my child now. Like y'all gotta feel my pain. But then I got a call in the midst of, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, in the midst of me getting ready to go do some stupid shit. Excuse my language. I got a call from Hicks. He didn't know what I was gonna do. He didn't know what I was on, but he just talked to me. He was like, man, whatever you got going on, whatever you finna do, man, go sit down, think about it, take a chill pill. Man, why did he call me in the midst of why would he call me in the midst of this? Like, but he stopped it. And with that also gave me the idea to, like, whoever it is, let's go talk to these people, see what they got going on in their life, and bring them in the program and see if that can change.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so deep. And you think Hicks didn't know what was going on in your head? Hicks knew exactly what was going on in your head. That's why he made that. That's why he made that call. And you had a strong enough relationship that you were able to listen. And again, it's one thing to talk peace in generalities. When it's real personal, when it's literally your child, that's a very different thing. And you know, I know the streets talk. They don't always tell the truth, but the streets talk. And you had a pretty good sense where that was coming from. And whether it was you retaliating or you sending your guys to retaliate, I'm sure, you know, I don't know this, I'm sure you had folks come to you and say, we'll handle this for you. How do you think about that situation?
I knew it could get ugly because my people, regardless of what was going to happen, they not going to stop. And who's to know these other guys, what they got going on, who they know. It could have got real uglier than what it did. So I just had to tell them, like, we gonna go about this a different way. Let's see if we can go holler at these guys and get these guys on what we really own. Because if y'all say that y'all about change and peace, then why is we going to do something to somebody that probably had no idea what was going on and who they was doing something to?
Right, and that's just so unbelievably profound and deep. So the guys that could have taken your daughter away, could have taken her life, and like you said, thank God that didn't happen. You actually, rather than retaliating, and you thought about it and you considered that, rather than doing that, you ultimately decided that if we could, to try and bring them in and see if we can get them in the mix of what we're doing. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Then last question: how did that feel, and how are you feeling now, and how's your daughter doing?
My daughter, she okay. She a little more playful now. In a few days she wasn't. She was like down, but she a little more playful now. I'm happy. Like I can't let that get me down or hit that what Hicks say to me, that button, hit that switch. I can't take that switch off. I gotta leave it on. Because if the moment I let it go off and my guard go down, I might do something I don't want to do. It jeopardize everything I worked so hard for.
Yeah. And you think about what you did on the trip, you think about what you've done, you know, just over the last 10 days or so. What does that make you think about yourself, of who you are now?
I made a big change. I made a big change. If don't nobody else see it, I see it.
Yeah, well, I think we all see it and the world sees it. And I just can't tell you personally how much it means to me and how much we all appreciate it. I speak for all of us. A final question is we try and really dramatically reduce violence in Chicago. We had a couple good years of violence going down. This last year was terrible, as you know. 2020 was terrible. if we were, really trying to get violence down 75, 80%, what do we need to do collectively for the city in order for that to happen?
We would have to all come together, man, and stop the violence altogether as one. We need to get to these neighborhoods and figure out who's who and talk to them, because whoever got the most influence in this neighborhood is the ones that will be able to stop the violence, for sure, for real.
Yeah, yeah. All right, we're good. Again, thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you so much for your heart. Thank you so much for your honesty. And thank you for helping lead the city where we need to go.
No problem. Blessings. I appreciate y'all.
Thanks so much. Great job.